has there come at any point where you have considered giving up on your vision?
At least once a week.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, my bro. How you doing?
I'm very fine. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm
Yes.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes.
So first I want to thank you so much for being able to make this on a very short notice.
Yeah.
You're saving us a lot
Oh,
for making it for such a short notice.
yeah. I'm always here for you. You know that.
Yes, I do. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, I know your plan today is to flip this and ask me questions.
I told
See how
you,
that goes.
I have my jotter here, my pen here.
Okay, we'll see how that goes.
Let's see how that goes.
I don't think I've seen you this year. I think the last time we saw was last year.
Yeah, last
And
year.
my time
Yes.
don't go.
Yes, that's gone.
And this is almost mid-year. So
Okay.
how's the year been so far?
It's been beautiful. Can't complain. Has it been stressful? Yes. But is that the cost? Then, yeah.
That's
that's
the
a bit.
cost of being a baller.
How's your year been so far, Joe?
Well, the year has been very busy. That's for sure. But it has been interesting and more daring. At least I'm trying to be a bit more daring. Yeah, because there's really no point doing anything small or playing it safe.
Yeah.
So I'm putting on that garment.
Yes.
To go all out.
I love that.
So,
I love that. Having guests is one of that on the podcast.
yes,
as well.
absolutely. It is.
Start
It was
January.
supposed to start January, and January was very busy. February was very busy. Putting all of this together, having the confidence that we're ready to actually
Bro.
do it.
Oh, yeah.
Other things distracting. At some point, it was just like, we just have to do this. Otherwise, we are just going to continue to stall.
Yeah.
So it's my birthday on Friday.
Wow.
So I was like, you know what? Let me use this as the perfect excuse to
Yes.
get this started.
I love that.
And so, yes, here we are.
Okay.
So, thanks again for making it.
Let's have it. Let's create
Yeah.
magic.
Okay. So, I would like to know you like I don't know you before.
Okay.
So my first impression of you was through Amin's platform then. Someone had told me about Amin, so I started following, and there was constantly Mofe. I'm like, who is this silent wingman that is just,
Yeah.
And so, I had a very, very solid impression. In fact, I thought you were all very old.
Then we now met physically.
They were met physically. Then eventually I realized that you were not that old, but you are very tall. I think I still have the picture on my phone.
Yes, I do.
I was just like, what was all
As
this? I'm
well.
not that sure. So if you've never seen this man before, he's actually really tall. But so what's your story? It's open-ended and ambiguous. But
Okay.
if you were asked this question, how would you approach talking about
Okay. This is the first date. You have to buy me coffee first. I can't see the coffee on the table.
Don't worry. During the break.
During the break.
I don't want you to be so hyper.
Okay.
Yes.
No problem. Looking forward to that. So, depending on who you ask, Mofe, they can be different things, right? But in this context, I help visionaries build brands and all. Since I've been a child, I remember I've always loved to build things. I remember one of the first Lego blocks that my dad gave me. I remember my dad used to give me a lot of toys over then. The toys had like a lifespan, probably didn't last more than 3 days because I would uncouple it and put it in. I used to think I would be an engineer, but further must add other plans for me as well. So I've always loved building things and I've loved toying with things, playing with things. And when I got to the uni, I decided to study something called building. Plot twist. It was about actual buildings. And that was that. So I've converted that into helping other people build their dreams while I also build mine as well. And I see business and brands as a very good canvas for us to paint any reality that we desire.
That's so well said. Interesting. I didn't know you studied building.
Yeah, many people don't.
That explains a lot.
Yeah, we're brethren in environmental
I
sciences.
didn't realize. That explains a lot, in fact. But I love what you said about now you're converting that knowledge of wanting to put things together and see it to the final, to helping people build their dreams and build yours as well. So when you draw a parallel between helping others build their dream and yours, like what can you make sense of? Like what is the distinction? What are the commonalities? And how do they feed into each other?
I like the way your eyes twinkle when you ask questions. It's very good. It means like direct to the source.
I'm touching.
I love that. I love that. So one thing I've noticed, basically, it all starts with vision. For a very long time, I also didn't understand. I used to think that I was creative and blah, blah, blah. But in this life, I've come to realize that you don't know what you don't know. And it's a never-ending quest of always trying to know as much as possible. Right. And one thing I've noticed is that anybody that builds a dream, it all starts with a vision. Right. And I've also realized that it takes a little bit. I remember you made a tweet a couple of months ago. It's all about a little bit of being, what's the word now? Crazy, a little of delusion. Right. Yeah. And your tweet was, they bought into the delusion.
Yeah.
Right. So you need that spark, that delusion for you to say, imagine we spoke with somebody in, let's say, during Jesus Christ era, right? And you told him that one day a metal box will fly in the sky without anything. Not only would it fly in the sky, it will fly for thousands of miles. Person will look at you like, this guy has said those mushrooms again. Told him to knock it off. And yeah, it all started with delusion. So I've noticed that's a common thread. For you to be able to weave any fabric of reality, you need delusion as the first point, the first thread. And yeah, that's something that's very common.
Nice. So I'm also wondering now, do you see any difference at all? Like helping people build. You're building on both ends. You're building internally and you're building externally. Like, how does your building for yourself affect like building for others and vice versa?
Great. That's beautiful. As a fellow brand strategist, we understand that we are architects, right? So we basically design that kind of system. So our case is a matter. So for context, I run a brand agency, right? I guess many of you that listen to this podcast and watch this podcast will know what you do. So I also run a brand.
I hope they do.
Please, in case you don't. So yeah, he runs a brand. He's one of the best brand strategists in the world. All right. Yeah. So we also do power brand strategy, right? So we basically oversee brands for visionaries. That's what we do. We manage it. So while they focus on the business, we focus on the brand for them. Now, for us to be able to do that, we also need to put a particular structure in place to ensure that we can take as many people via them as possible. So what that means is that every business usually has like a lot of moving parts. So we need to be able to soak in that, and that's only possible through systems and structure. So one thing I've noticed is that we also need to have our structure set out that we can easily adapt to their own system, right? So you want to look at it as a sort of a kind of clay, right, that can take different forms that can be able to fit into them. I've noticed if you realize that anytime you work with a new client, everybody has like their unique way of doing things internally. And no matter what system that you have, even though you want to have a repetitive system, you need to also be able to tweak that system a bit to be able to fit into what they need, right? So yeah, that's something that's very important. I've also seen that without structure, without a defined structure, there is growth cannot happen, right? And in this part of the country, which is of the world, which is Nigeria, by the way, because of, I'll say, we have when compared with like America or England, we really have been doing this thing for a very short period of time. The country talk less of business, right? Which is why you see that many of the businesses that were alive tens of years ago are not alive today. I remember asking an older friend that question, that why is it that when we're younger, we used to have these big companies, or during your time, there used to be these big companies, and now we do not have them again. They're extinct. And the answer that is because the businesses were built around one person, right? It was that man that was doing everything and all. However, for us to escape that, we need to actually build an enterprise. Many people are running a solo business. In fact, they're running an extension of themselves, right? They're not running an actual business. If your business cannot survive for months without you, then there's a big problem. So that's what makes it an enterprise. That's when you can actually sell it, when your systems are defined. So I think that regardless of whatever industry that you are in, you need to have that structure. Would it take time? Yes. But if you don't have it, then you're playing. You better just know that you are just a CEO on your Instagram bio.
Interesting. I like that, Ron. Anyways, I'm coming back to this thing you keep saying about building brands for visionary. I'm coming back to it. First, I wanted to know, when you say you're building your vision as well, would your vision be that you're building crafters? No, that's what you're talking about, right?
Part of it, yes.
Okay, tell us more about
more of it. Okay, yes. Okay.
The other things that are made up of your vision.
Okay, yeah. So, for a bit of context, so I remember I told you that, like, it was just like, so very quick story. I think this is the first time sharing this publicly or even with anybody. Okay. But yeah, I want to share with you. When I was very little, right, I grew up in a very, like many Nigerians, in a very strict religious household. And when I say strict, everybody that hears this already knows what strict means. We will protect our heritage by not going more into details about what strict means.
That's right? Very wise.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a phrase called get inside children. You know what the get inside children are, right? So I used to spend a lot of time indoors. But by divine providence, or maybe it was that intentional, my dad used to stock the house with a lot of books, right? So I lost myself in books a lot. And like many creatives, right, we have active imaginations. Right. I've seen some children before where they are playing, then they'll just be like doing something in their own world and all. Mine was so crazy that my mom took me to the doctor at a point, like, are you sure everything is wrong with this boy? He's always alone, talking to himself. Are you sure that there's no mental issue and all, right? I need to ask her for the result of that diagnosis as well. Yeah, so in the moment of all those things, what I was literally doing was I was literally creating universes. I was literally creating new worlds. I remember a point in which I used to cut out cardboard t-shirts, then the watercolor that they bought for school, I would literally paint, I would design new jerseys. I was like primary school, like for Chelsea, Inter Milan, Barca. We shall not mention that club that never wins any trophies that is in London, because they don't deserve to be mentioned on camera.
I do not partake of this black man.
So, yeah, I was basically creating little universes, like creating new jerseys, new businesses, and all. Like, it was so random. I even remember creating like a fictional school because I was not happy with some things in the school. Then I would literally like come up with a name for the school and uniform. Then I start talking to myself like, oh, I'm the principal and everything. It was crazy and mad. Crazy. And I'm sure that many people also like.
Did you have siblings?
Yes, I'm the first of many siblings as well. So I used to rope my immediate brother into a lot of these things.
I wondered if you had all these similarities to yourself.
Yeah. So it was a quiet one. So yeah, we had to like fuse together.
Are you not quiet? If you say your brother is a quiet one, I'm just wondering what that's really.
You know, this would have said I'm quiet depending on the context.
Okay.
And also, I could quiet when I need to be quiet. And all. Yeah. So I feel like that spark for creation has always been there. Now, I won't say unfortunately, because everything that happens in our lives happens for a reason, right? it's unfortunate to us, but we cannot see the future. So we really don't know if it's unfortunate in the grand scheme of things. I realized that, okay, how do I want to create things? And I noticed that for some reason, many people so we have artists and we have creators. By the way, I used to be a rapper in secondary school. And it's also another very interesting thing. However, I realized very quickly, thank God, within 1 year, that being a rapper in Nigeria is not commercially successful, and that I was going to be hungry, and I did not want to be hungry, right? And there were other ways.
So in essence, you were smooth with words, you could connect words and meaning very, spontaneously.
Yes.
That's such a good attribute of a strategist.
Yes, you need that because you need to sell your ideas. Yes. Exactly, right? So then I realized there are many forms of art. It should take time for value to be put onto that, right? And I realized that one way for your ideas to be bettered very easily was through business. Because with business, your ideas are making other people money, right?
Sustainable.
God bless you. So all those little words, all those creations, I remember, okay, we could use business to do it. So I did not magically believe that it was brands, right? So I did a lot of things we shall talk about later, right? Okay. So I've realized that building businesses and brands were was a very good way for us to create things, right? Now, I did not have the financial capacity to create all those business ideas I've had. I know that you also had a notebook when you were in secondary school and uni where you used to write business ideas as well. That notebook, right? Yeah. Mine was a green.
I have some of
them. You have some of them. You kept everything. I did not keep many of them. That's good. So all those ideas, Nigerians will say, "Na money we find bobo," right? So you need money to execute it. Yes. So I realized that, okay, you know what? What leverage do I have? I do not have capital. However, I have knowledge, right? So I decided to use that knowledge to help other people's brands.
I have strong.
Exactly, imagination. And also, so that's been it. Now, on that journey so far, we've been doing that with cryptos for the past, in July, will be 4 years, right? So while we oversee brands for people, we're going to do that for the foreseeable future. Apart from Cryptos, which is the brand management agency, I also partner with select people to birth original brands as well. Okay. Yes, 2 of that are in motion right now. You know of one of them, but you might not know I'm associated with one of them as well. And so the goal is, as we're managing brands, I also want to bet some brands, if everything is right with different people. Again, later in this podcast, also talk about how to create those partnerships. So because there are so many founders and entrepreneurs that are always curious about partnerships. So how can you ensure that you pick the right partner and you don't pick somebody that will drag you down, right? So that's very important. So that's the vision, basically. Help people build brands, help cryptos manage the biggest brands, which we've been doing so far, and also be able to build those big brands ownership as well. Basically, to be able to show workings.
That's very interesting, because I see how sometimes when you look at your bag and you look at all the things that you have in terms of knowledge, experience, talent, whether conscious or subconscious abilities, and you think about how to deploy it, the problem usually is, how do you get return for all these valuable things I have? What's the best way to deploy everything? So I see how you've been able to navigate that so far. So from what I hear you say now, you are trying to help other people build their dreams, because you have all of this toolbox of so much sophisticated equipment, and then you know that is somewhere you can deploy it. But you're also saying that beyond that, to be able to show workings, if you're working with clients, there's some limitations that come with it, and you don't have the final call on a number of things. So even with your best efforts, things may still not turn out as you have best imagined. And so you've navigated that by trying to be in the ring yourself, partnering with other people to do stuff. That's very interesting.
Thank you.
And I'm very fascinated by it. You want to say something?
I'm going to tell you that I'm going to use your analogy of the toolbox for one future content, and I've written it down already. Thank you very much.
Oh yes, you're welcome. By the way, I always love all this your analogy. Very, very, very interesting. They seem very commonsensical, but yeah. So I feel like your childhood definitely has played a very huge role. Similar to a few other strategies I've spoken to, like there is always a place for depth. Like, for instance, you talked about being surrounded with books. So subconsciously, you were making sense of the world on a different level from what your peers were doing. And of course, you may not know that consciously until you realize that you have the ability to like make meaning and put things together. And then the fact that you had the opportunity to daydream, I think it's something I used to do a lot too. Like when
Yes,
I was,
yes,
I can literally be by myself all day, and I'm in a world where I'm having so much fun. Like,
exactly,
and
exactly.
then I'm foolish enough sometimes to write it down to believe that I can make it happen
Yeah.
someday somehow. And so someone else's business is such a big opportunity to
Experiments, exactly.
have
We're
some fun.
like, take the money, right? Let's do this.
Yeah. So that makes a lot of sense. But like I'm curious to know when it comes to like your childhood background growing up, like what are the major things that influenced you and have maybe formed your worldview today?
That's a very interesting question. I would want to open my mouth and assume that I know all those things.
Okay.
However, I've noticed that luck plays the role of luck in our life is like super, super crazy. Like,
Interesting.
yeah,
Did you just discover this? Like did you just find out about this idea of luck or you've always had that in mind?
I just found out about it like a couple of years ago. I think like 2 years ish.
Okay.
Yeah. So you know how we all grow as humans, right? You know how we all grow as humans, and we need to ensure that at some particular moment there's like an enlightening, right? Like you literally grew mentally. You know those moments, those light bulb moments. You have micro versions of that. Let's say you discovered one new knowledge and you're like, wow, like I actually grew, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think one of those moments happened 2 years ago. Like philosophy is a very big part of my life and all. So I like take on like different things, and I've realized that we are just specks of dust in this very grand universe. So I realized that there's so much luck in life, right? Now, that is not an excuse for you to live your life without purpose.
Mm.
Luck favors the bold. The more you roll the dice, the more the chances of you getting double six. So it does not negate hard work.
So you can increase your chances of luck by the input.
God bless you.
Yeah.
No matter how unlucky you are in this life, the more you do,
the more.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. So there's a book review I watched one time that talks about what you're saying, and I very much agree. So the idea, I think the book is something of the advantage or something like that. So essentially says that everyone is privileged, that every single person has a privilege.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you are very poor, like that your poverty is enough, can be a motivation for you to like do something exceptional. So for that reason, your poverty itself can be a privilege. Yeah, so the last thing we're talking about was the role of strategy for entrepreneurs or founders. Anyways, I would like to digress from that now. So you've talked a lot about helping visionaries build brands. And so I want to know exactly, I mean, the purpose of this platform is for the everyday visionary, right? So for some people, the idea of who a visionary is or what vision is mixed up or is not even clear. So how exactly would you define or identify a visionary?
That's beautiful. Hundreds of years ago, possibly thousands of years ago, human beings lived in clusters around the world, right? So the only reality that I know is the savannah around me. and the lions that are always trying to get me and my brother. Eventually, we started multiplying and we started fighting for scarce resources. Then we decided that, okay, what is behind that mountain? Can we check it out? And people started going, right? Those people were the first visionaries, tired of what was
everyday regular.
Exactly. And it began, as time went on, the scope changed, right? So then we had people that created ships, the Vikings. They didn't discover new lands, they were already existing there, which is something that's very interesting, which will also tie to that later, right? And they discovered new ways of doing things. The same person that said, okay, if I mix this color and this color together, it's going to be like that. So I like to see visionaries as people that are tired of the status quo and believe that they can forge ahead into creating a new reality. So a visionary is anybody that has a particular set, their brain is wired in a way that they have a certain set of combinations that they want to create that vision. Many people have that idea, but visionaries actually follow through on that idea, right? So they conquer new lands, they conquer new territories, and capitalism is a very good way for them to execute that as well. And if you also look at it, when people were going into new lands, they were always, among them, like when they got to those new lands, they became kings, right? And to become a better king, you expand your territory. Similarly, entrepreneurs today also want to expand their businesses by mergers, acquisitions, growth, and all those things. Now, if you remember, when those kings were on those expeditions, they also had priests, right? Priests that ensured that their priest and like a council basically that ensure that they were ready to rule. They helped them conquer, they helped them they made the gear for them and all those things. That's the role of the brand strategist as well, the brand agencies. We are the ones that exist to ensure that the entrepreneurs, the visionaries, the founders have all those things that they need to ensure that they can capture new markets and achieve their dreams.
That's very interesting analogy. Right, so I can understand why a Me Too entrepreneur might not exactly appeal to you because you are thinking a little far out, and then their scope of things is just, I want to make profit, I want to, but thinking about the fact that sometimes visionaries in their best efforts don't succeed. Why do you think, or why are you still compelled to consider them the group of people to support?
Because I'd rather in this life, you just have to choose your own path, right? And I decided that this is the path I choose. When we onboard clients, for instance, as you do, you have an introductory call where you see if you're a best fit for each other. Till today, it still surprises our employees. Maybe it was the beginning, but when the employees begin to understand why. It still surprises them how many jobs we turn down, even with money. Like they give us money, like, you have money, right? Which is fine. You can run the business, it's fine. But you do not have vision. Like, we literally interview the clients. Is this person actually visionary, right? And all, because if not, there'll be problem. No matter the strategy and everything, if they cannot appreciate the reason for the brand, right, then it's going to be a problem. Of course, you can run boring businesses, right? So you can do that by the side, and that works, right? But if you actually want to build a brand out of your business, the person actually needs to be a visionary. That is a non-negotiable requirement for us to work together.
But you don't think every founder is a visionary?
No.
So how do you get to tell? How can you tell the difference between a founder, even though they are successful, they are scaling, they are reaching new markets? Like, how can you tell the difference?
When you go out on a date, how do you know if that's the girl or not?
Good question. I mean, it's down to your own standards, I guess, and what patterns you are able to pick on.
Exactly.
Okay.
So founders and entrepreneurs that are visionaries have certain traits as well that you can pick on. One of them is the way they talk about what they're trying to achieve. That same glint in your eyes you have when you ask them the question, they also have that glint in their eyes, right? So they've scaled through so many things. 3, they understand the power of design. 4, they understand the power of, 3, they understand the power of design and beauty. 5, they understand the power of intentionality. They understand the power of structure. They understand the power of storytelling. They understand the power of creativity. You've seen little things about them. They are not successful yet because they do not have the right people to execute it. But you can see things, you can see those traits.
Their alignment.
Beautiful. So you pick up on all those things and you know if this person is a visionary or not.
Beautiful. That's very profound. I think the part that more or less summarize all the different, attributes you mentioned is that you can see their intentionality. Yes, because when you said the value design, I was going to be like, okay, in fact, some designers don't even understand design, talk less of regular people.
Yes.
But the truth is, people can understand design very deeply without not knowing how to articulate it or speak the lingua.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, they understand intentionality, and that's what design is.
Exactly.
Essentially, is like, intentionally solving problems.
Exactly.
So
building on that as well, like, regardless of what you do as a founder and an entrepreneur, right? What you are selling, life will be easier if you are selling to somebody that actually has the need and know that they need that thing, right? Whatever you're selling. Similarly, if we're selling brand strategy and design and execution and management to somebody that doesn't know that they actually need it, then you're going to have a hard time selling it. Which is why we're having this kind of podcast, right? Mm-hmm. So that people understand this. This is why I release content regularly. Because if you meet somebody that's just a pure businessman and you give him 2 options, right? You say, you need a logo. He knows what a logo is. Mm-hmm. Somebody from Shomolu says he's going to do that logo for him for 250,000 naira, right? And you come in and say you're going to do that logo for him for 20 million naira. As a businessman, he's going to pick the cheaper option because as far as it's concerned, it's a logo. However, if he understands the power and the need for it to be more than a logo and a verbal and visual brand identity, he's going to pay that money. So now, why would I waste my time speaking to somebody that doesn't do that, right? I cannot do that, right? So what we do is we now use content at scale to try to let as many people as to be aware of it. Now, the percentage of those people that are aware of it are what we should now call qualified leads, that we can now say, okay, we can now have conversations with and understand the value of what we're bringing to the table.
Mm. So, this conversation is interesting. So one thing I wanted to also talk about that I think is relevant to our flow of conversation so far is personal branding, maybe especially for visionaries right now. I know you released I call it paper now, or magazine, or
yes, a book.
Yeah, there was an editorial release you had around like personal branding. So what do you think is the role of personal branding for visionaries?
It's a non-negotiable, right? Have you heard of this saying? I'll say it in pidgin English, then I'll translate it to normal English. Okay. It says, the way a goat takes down markets, now they take price them. Right? Do you want to help with the English translation of that?
Let me try. The stance of a goat. Or the stance, or let me say the posture of a goat, more or less tells its value.
God bless you. Yeah. So that's what personal branding does. So personal branding, we're not saying, when you say create a personal brand, we're not telling you to go and have a logo, start putting on your content with the same colors or start posting flyers up and down. We're just saying that your vision and your dream, you need to be able to communicate it clearly to people. Now, why is that important? As a personal brand, you need certain things to make your vision a reality. One, you need capital, right? Capital can be capital, or it could be income from sales of products, right? Yeah. You need a team to help you execute that. Those 2 things are very important. Yeah. Now, a personal brand will ensure that those 2 things are achieved easily. Why? Now, if you can present yourself as someone that is a qualified visionary, you can find people that can also buy into that dream, right? And help you do all those things. There's a very beautiful example of The Power of a Personal Brand from Daniel Priestley. Daniel Priestley, for those that don't know, is like, he advocates a lot of personal branding and all. He's out of the book Key Person of Influence, I think.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. So he had this illustration of the Eiffel Tower in Paris, right? And how he says that the Eiffel Tower itself does not generate a lot of revenue, right? The people that generate the most revenue are the hotels and the coffee shops around the tower. Similarly, your personal brand is that tower that attracts the crowd. However, when the crowd comes, the people what benefits from it are the businesses that you build with your personal brand. So if you're a visionary that actually wants to create impact, you should have a strong personal brand that allows, 1, customers to come in, 2, talent to help you achieve that vision, 3, investors that will give you money to achieve that vision, 5, an audience to test your ideas, validation and everything, which will make everything simple. Not simple, but easier.
Yes. That makes a lot of sense, because it's already difficult enough to be a visionary, trying to work against the tides. And so you need people to buy into that delusion, and you can, sometimes, like, people take you for who you say you are, or whatever you call yourself as. Like, when people see you and you're confidently projecting what you believe in or what you want to do, there's a tendency for people to have doubts. There's tendency for people to have different opinion until they see that you're consistent with what you're saying and what you're doing. They start to follow along. So even if what you're saying defies reality or defies logic or common sense, being consistent over time, showing up with the same message and the same position will make people at least have a more, they start to like accommodate you over time, and they probably give you a better chance to even prove whatever it is that you're saying. So I think I see it from that angle. That's very brilliant. So what's the punishment when you don't have a personal brand?
We live in an attention economy, right? If you sit down, right, at the end of the day, if someone could document how many information you've consumed in a day, I'm sure there's a statistic somewhere that points that serves the contrast about the amount of information an average human takes into a day compared to that of, like, let's say 50 years ago, right? I'm sure like there'll be a stark contrast, right? Now, in every video, the person's being bombarded by new things. Everybody's trying to talk to the same person, right? If you do not have a personal brand, you are going to be lost, right? Having the personal brand allows you to also get a bite of that attention as well. It makes things easy. It's like, if you're about to run a 10K, for instance, you could run the 10K barefoot, right? But you make your life easy and wear a proper shoe. Simple. Gear the system so that things will move better.
Interesting. Anyway, so I'll jump to this. I know you've also talked a lot about building in Africa.
Can I add one more thing to that? Yes. And I'm adding this because it's something that a lot of founders and entrepreneurs, especially the introverts, raise when you tell them to build a personal brand. So if the goal of a personal brand is to be able to build the center of authority, now, when we say build a personal brand, we're not telling you to sit there in front of the camera to shoot videos. That's not the only way you can build your personal brand. If you are more comfortable writing, you could build a personal brand with beautiful Twitter threads, right? There are numerous people on Twitter that do not even have an Instagram account or do not have one video there. If you are more comfortable speaking, you could have a podcast that establishes your personal brand, right? If you are more convenient with just doing, you could just do and just sponsor so many courses, right? And you will not say one word, and people will know that you are the person behind all these things, and you will have established the personal brand. Now, if you even do not want your face to show or your identity to show for some reason, you could also bring somebody that serves as the personal brand for your business. So you could partner with that person. That person becomes the CEO. That person sells the mission. That person sells the dream while you focus on the business.
Excellent. So who is an example of a visionary who has also been able to hack personal branding?
Elon Musk.
Well, Nigeria.
Nigeria.
Mm-hmm.
I would say an entrepreneur that has hacked personal branding. I think, that's a very good question. I think I would say Tony Lumelu.
Okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I can agree. I can agree with that.
Yes.
Yeah, nice. Well, so yeah, you also talked a lot about like building in Africa. You want to say something?
Yes, but you can do way more. Tony, if your team is watching this, call us. Let's whip something up for you. You can do way more than what you have.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, you talked a lot about building in Africa. So it makes me interested in what's your vision for Africa? Like, what do you think is the ideal state of Africa, and what has made you interested in particularly building in Africa, or people who are building in Africa?
I'm biased, right? And I'm biased in the sense that I actually believe that Africans were like a special people. Like, I truly believe that. Many people don't believe that. They just feel like we're just anything. But I actually believe that we have so much heritage, we have so much culture. For many people that have been part of my 7-year journey in doing this, at the beginning, I always said I had the mission of impacting 10 million Africans, right? Sometime I changed to 100 million Africans, and now I've just taken out altogether because I believe that we can even be more than that. And why I believe in it so much is that we have so much potential. You hear that word a million times everywhere: potential, 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 potential. Cho. And now the question is, potential. How do you convert that potential to actual results? Now, when I started, I realized that to impact visionaries, like to impact the world, I strongly believe that brands can change our future. Like, if you look at it, most of the things that happened are because of brands, cars, everything. They can actually change our future. Now, while we help visionaries to craft their own future, I also know that it is limited. That can scale. So I started creating content, right? That can help other people. So everything that we've learned, we share for free. Now, one of the things I've noticed is that access is a problem in Africa. Now, obviously, the first thing that comes to your mind is access to capital.
Okay.
Now, many people are already doing that. We have beautiful people, talented people that are raising capital for African businesses, right? And that is not my forte, right? Okay. Now, when that capital comes, another kind of access is access to knowledge, specific and actionable knowledge, not inspire to perspire, right? We need that knowledge as well. And 3, talent, access to talent. You know, every founder and entrepreneur will understand that everybody's always saying that there are no jobs, people are searching for jobs. But the problem is that the people that are searching for jobs, are they actually employable? Right? So do we have the right talents that we need to actually do all those things? Right? That's 1. 2, now that we know that we need that access, people now begin to gatekeep that access, which is very, very crazy. It's very, very crazy. Like, people need this thing, then you gatekeep it. So one of the reasons why what I started took off so much in the beginning was that I put what people were putting inside courses and having seminars for, I put it out for free. I remember people messaging me like, how is this free? Till today, I get that every time. Like, how is this free? Why is this free? Well, as you say, it's point of privilege, right? So we're putting it out free because we can afford to put it out for free. We don't need money for your courses, right? So use that money, put it back inside your business, and or we'll give you everything for free.
When you have enough, you can come.
Exactly. Yeah, so we're letting you are aware, so that when you are aware, you know that you need us to do it and all. All right. Okay. And maybe we have time during this podcast, or maybe it's going to be after, or maybe it's going to be for your Patreon people, right? Is that there's an interesting agency model I'd like to share with you as well on helping people and becoming more than that for them. Yeah.
So I think my original question was around building in Africa and why you are interested in that, and you talked about the fact that there's a problem of access, which is not just about money right now, but knowledge and that specific actionable knowledge, and then talent, the right talent. Are there any more? Yeah, I don't think you finished that thought essentially.
Okay, yes, I think that's it. Every other point that I'm aware of right now at this moment, right? There will definitely be other problems as well. That culture is another big thing as well, right? Because mindset is very, very important. There are some limiting mindsets that a lot of African founders and entrepreneurs have, right? That's also there because there's a joke we crack internally that someone that is in survival mode cannot be creative, right? So there's also that as well. So there's so many things. However, I want to believe that with people like you and I and people that are watching this, we can set the foundation so that people in the next 200 years can enjoy as well. So yeah, that's what we're doing right now.
Awesome. So you really believe in Africa?
Yeah, it would be great if we can put a library in our name. What do you think? One or two over there. See, I imagine it now. I got you.
So I hope that doesn't limit your interest in the world itself.
Oh no, I'm a global citizen, as they say.
Okay.
Right, which is also one of the reasons I realized that so we took my head of content took like an analysis after we stopped the second season of content, which we just did like last month as well, and we realized that our audience actually is like global.
Spans across.
Yes.
I'm inspired.
Yeah, so we're talking to everybody now. So if you notice, the content has changed a bit. So we're no longer using so much specific Nigerian references and as well. Yes. So yeah, it's global.
Makes sense. Yeah. All right. So like, what has been the struggle like as a visionary yourself? I mean, it's not a known path. It's not easy either. So how have you been able to, what has been the main struggle and how have you been able to like maneuver all of that?
I won't say there has been a main struggle.
Okay.
I would say as opposed to one sword that drives through your heart and kills you, I would say it's like different stabs of knives all over your body. All right. So I won't say there's one overarching thing that's been like a struggle. There's so many. I think we can just pick a few that I think is generalized, right? And we can talk about that. And I think I also like to talk about one thing that a lot of people don't talk about as well. Yeah, that's it.
What's that?
Okay, we can jump into that right now. I think it is about your internal spirit. Right, I know a lot of people avoid the woo topic and all, but it's very important, right? I believe that as founders and entrepreneurs, we give so much of ourselves to the culture, to the world, to our employees, to our customers, and you cannot pour from an empty vessel, right? So one of the struggles, which I did not know until I took that part seriously, is that you need to fill that container constantly. A lot of times when people are burnt out, it's because they're not filling that thing properly, right? So there's an analogy, right, in which a close friend of mine gave me, in which you want to imagine your life as a reservoir, right? So imagine my hand right now like is a reservoir and the palm is the tank. All these fingers that you are seeing are channels or pillars in your life. Different people have different pillars, but most people, the pillars usually are: one, their profession, what they do; two, spirituality, connection with God or whatever they think God is. Maybe call it universe. Three, their romantic relationships. Four, the relationship with their friends and their family. And five, their personal development. Right? So this reservoir has to be filled up. When it's filled up, you're at your best. You know that zone when you're just like Superman mode. There is no kryptonite around you, right? Now, at some point, because they're all connected to this reservoir, they keep on going down, they keep on going up, right? So you want to get to a point in which if one of them is low, you can tap into the reservoir and all of them so that one keeps going up, right? If you do not have all these pillars maintained, if they're not filled up, if one goes down, everything's going to go down. Which is why you see some people, when they have personal relationship issues, everything in their life crumbles, right? Because they did not set those other pillars in a way in which
can support.
So it is most important for founders and entrepreneurs. You need
to be filled in all the dimensions of their lives.
Also knowing that there's nothing like work-life balance, right? There's nothing like that. So you need to set your life in a way in which God bless you, in which all those things can happen simultaneously. Yes. And
that's optimal for someone who's trying to change the world.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly.
So like the analogy you gave, it reminded me of this animation Inside Out. Have you seen it?
Inside Out, no.
I think Inside Out is this Disney animation where all the different personalities. There was anger. You must have seen the emoji. One red-looking character like this is fire and his head. I wish I could put it up.
Okay.
You should watch it. It's actually interesting. So how do I describe it? You have to watch it.
Okay,
so essentially the characters are like happiness, sadness, joy. So what's happening to there's a human character, and then when certain things happen in their life, when the person is feeling sadness, so there's like a big control center. So sometimes they struggle for the control center. Anger sometimes is angry and pushes everybody away and starts, making things go wild. And happiness and sadness, sometimes they are interacting and negotiating how to make things, and it's having an actual effect on. And then so from that control tower, there is a plug connection to like family, like those very key aspects of their life. So there's a time I think they traveled or parents separated or something like that. So that particular
Spoiler alert. Yeah. You have to send it to me. Don't tell me. You have to send it to me. I have to watch it. You have to watch it now.
Yes.
I'm going to send it to me. So
I think it was such a brilliant and I like movies like that have not just comic relief or entertainment, but has depth and meaning. By the way, what's your favorite movie?
You ask him that question is like asking me to pick my favorite Kendrick Lamar song. That's impossible. There's no one movie.
I see you supported.
There was nobody to support. There was only one winner. It's like saying that the sun came up and the sun came down. Like it's facts, gravity. And movies. I have a list of movies. I think some of my best movies would probably be like the Inglourious Basterds. Have you seen the Inglourious Basterds? No.
I didn't pay attention.
Okay. Inception.
I didn't pay attention.
Shutter Island. You're not seeing that.
I don't watch movies.
You don't watch movies. Wow. By the way, series over movies. By the way.
That's even worse. I don't understand. I think one of the reasons why I don't watch movies is that I'm not a very good spectator. I like to be in the
action.
Yeah, I rather daydream, spend time daydreaming than watching another person's imagination. But I see the need for action.
Very interesting.
Okay, so
we're talking about
back to how entrepreneurs need to feed their life so that when any aspect of their life gets hit, they have other aspects to support it. I totally agree with it because I remember facing one heartbreak like that, and I was useless. I could not even believe it. Like I couldn't function for quite a long time.
Yes.
But it was a very necessary experience because it molded me significantly because I realized that my mind has to be at peace.
Yes.
Like no matter what else I need in this life, like I cannot tamper with the ability for my mind to function because when everything goes wrong, that is where it comes back to like being able to put myself together and take myself further from there. And that experience was important to validate that maybe I was not taking very good care of like different other aspects of my life. In fact, it was such a terrible relationship that it's not terrible because of who it has helped me to become, but it was such a terrible experience that I had started to like distance myself from other important people in my life. So I wish you were the people who eventually saved me in the way they could.
Yes.
But I'm sure that if that did not happen, maybe it would not have been as devastating as it
That
was.
pillar.
Yeah, so I totally support, at least from my personal experience.
Yes.
And I think since then I've been able to live a more compartmentalized life. Like it's difficult for things to hit me. Like it's difficult for me to get hit. Like even if I'm broke, you can never tell. You cannot tell my current life situation.
I love that.
Like I'm in constant state of like balance.
I love
like
that.
not necessarily happiness. Happiness is not important. Like there is balance. There is that I can move.
I love that.
Things can continue to flow.
I love that.
And yeah, so I agree. I agree with you.
I love that.
Okay, so following up on that, what has been your experience managing people? I mean, I think about being a visionary. I mean, like I talked about some of this in my previous episode, and how no matter how beautiful your vision is, your job is to envision it and articulate it and find the right people. And I think the hardest part is finding these right people and helping them to align with what you think. So whether it's finding visionary clients who need to see and appreciate the value of strategy, for instance, or finding team members who need to understand why you need to say no to certain clients, even when you need money clearly, or why some things need to take longer or be more like rigorous. Like how have you been able to manage the struggle of making all of that happen?
Okay. I think that could be another podcast episode on its own, because managing people, working with people is another ballgame, as I'm sure you can relate, right? However, human beings are social creatures. We need those people to you cannot manage sheep alone. It's not possible. You need those people, right? And one thing I would also like to, which also taps into the previous points where you're saying some of the struggles, is also leverage. What did Akidemi say? Say, give me a lever long enough, and I will move the world, right? And leverage is super important as well, right? So if you, as a founder and entrepreneur, you have so many moving parts, right? In your business alone, you have so many departments. Outside of your business, your personal life, you have so many categories. Many people always want a piece of you. From personal experience, the only way I can do so many things, and all those things are still really functioning, not only functioning but also performing really great, thriving, is that I created a model in which every department of my life has a CEO, right? So my business has a CEO, in my business each department has a CEO, my content has a CEO, my businesses have a CEO, my personal life as a CEO, like that, right? So that frees a part of my
the burden of having to keep up with everything.
The operations part of it, right? So with that, you're able to direct everybody. So I would like to tap into your illustration of the orchestra, right? So you become the coordinator, you become the conductor rather of the orchestra, managing those people. So you now need highly qualified people to lead those things, right? So find people that are good at what they do. Employ them to the vision.
Highly
qualified people. Micromanagement will be the death of you, right? So highly qualified people that also believe in the vision. So there's one thing, they could be highly qualified, but they don't believe in your vision. They need to believe in the vision, which is why, again, you built your personal brand so that they can believe in the mission. Now, once they believe in the mission, now reward them appropriately. Be ready to pay them well, whatever payment means to them, right? And once you do that, allow them to fly. If you continue to treat people like chickens, they will never soar like eagles.
So two stands now. The buy-in has to be there, and the competence has to be there for you to not run mad.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because you will run mad if you try to do everything yourself. You will implode.
Yeah. There's a lot to learn from this. Anyway, so like, has there come at any point where you have considered giving up on your vision?
At least once a week.
Okay, I don't think that's dramatic enough. Once a week look like at some point it becomes normal. So he's not going to push you off the edge.
Yeah, I remember we're doing a project right now that's actually launching next week, and I remember speaking with my team. I'm like, why do we have to be extra? Everybody wants to do this thing down, they will just do it, boom. Why must our own be different? Why must we make it so extra? But again, this is life we chose, eh?
Yes. So what would you like your legacy to be? Maybe if at some point you decide that, you have to say goodbye to Craftos now, or you meet the undeniable fate everybody has, like, what would you like to be remembered for?
Memento Mori. I'd like to leave behind brands that became an entity themselves. They became a life force. They changed the lives of people, exactly. I would like to live through that as well. Then, of course, through all the projects, content, collaborations, podcast interviews like this. In fact, with this interview, I'm already immortal, right? So when I die, probably there's going to be a link that will come out, by the way, interestingly. So there'll be like a repo as well. Currently, for the past 2 years, I've been working on a second brain, which basically archives all my thoughts. It's hard to journal daily, you know about that, right? So anytime I remember, I fill it up.
On Notion?
Yes, on Notion, definitely. It has to be Notion. It has to be Notion. Notion, run our check. Yeah. So that's going to be willed to somebody. I don't know who when I die as well. So I think that I tell my best friend that what is the purpose of all this pain that we're going through if someone cannot learn from the pain?
Or pick it up from where you stop.
Exactly. So what I'm trying to do is I condense all my learnings together so that you do not have to go through that 10 years I went through. You can experience everything in 1 year. And with that, you can become better.
Excellent. I should have asked you this at the beginning, but my question was, what inspires you? Like, I mean, it could be brands, things, people, events, whatever it is. Like, what makes you come alive?
That's very, very wide, though. There are many things that make me come alive. So what do you mean? Like, what do you mean specifically? Can you like help me? Can you help me? Can you streamline the question? You want me to go ask you?
In fact, I will even give you more questions. 3 things that actually inspire. Like it awakens something in you anytime you experience or contact with it. Yeah. One,
and this is not to sound professional, but actually, like great brand activations, brand campaign experiences. Like when I see it, I just smile, right? Like I just love it. 2, good music, something preferably from SARS or Jules, right? And 3, daydreaming.
You say you're still daydreaming at this point.
Yes.
Old man, to your age and matric number.
You need to keep that inner child alive.
Yes, you have to.
Yeah, even with matric number 00.
All right. So I don't know. Is there any other thoughts you, apart from the model thing, which we talk off camera? Is there any other thoughts you have? Maybe something that's preoccupied your mind lately, or something you just like to share?
Okay, for founders and entrepreneurs that are building a personal brand, how would you advise them to use a podcast to push their ministry?
You're throwing it to me. Well, am I even in the best position to advise on?
Yes, you put in sweat equity already.
Okay.
I'm financially quitting.
How they can leverage a podcast. So most people only see the highlights of your life or your mind. Like everything you do online is more of like a stamp of where your mental space is. Like if you want to understand someone, you can check their comments, what they comment on and how they comment. You can more or less draw up a framework of like their orientation, basically. The things they pay attention to, all of that. And then the same thing with communication. Your interaction with someone close is always going to be different from like watching them from a distance, because we would project a lot of things on people based on what they are associated with. Yeah, so if you see them in a cool club with some cool kids, you would easily associate them with cool kids, right? And even though they might be completely different or living a completely different life from that. So what something like a podcast would do is that it kind of like removes more layers of all of that projected image of someone. And then people can actually start to see who you are for real, how you think. That if you talk with someone for like an hour, you cannot fake an hour conversation. Like there would be some people there's more authenticity there. You get your expressions, your response, how you process questions and even come up with answers, everything, except you are like a trained actor. You would review yourself. And I think if there's anything true about you that's valuable, that resonates with people listening to you, they would form a deeper connection with you. And that deeper connection, like you said, is the kind of thing that makes people just buy into you. Like no matter what it is that you're doing, they just feel like this person is grounded, like they're in the right mental space, and I trust whatever it is that they're doing because of how they've been able to express because the Bible says out of the abundance of the mind, the mouth speaketh. So if you can get someone to talk for long enough, you can tell their mind. Yes, and then that can help you to predetermine a lot of things about them. So yeah, you can give the opportunity to draw people closer to you, provided that, you can even have a very terrible attitude as long as you own it. Some people would really like it and still accept you for being that way. So yeah.
I love that. In the final episode of your previous season, you mentioned the contrast of you going solo versus having guests. If you had to do it all over again, what would you do differently?
Well, I don't think I'll do anything differently. I started it because I took up the challenge to do the difficult work of expressing my thoughts. Yeah, I feel like I have so many deep insight and ideas that only myself contemplate about, like nobody else knows. And sometimes it occurs to me that it would be interesting if other people can know this, but the work to actually refine it, arrange it, clean it up to be consumable for someone else to listen and get it is so much, to be very honest. So starting the podcast or like taking up that challenge, and I learned through it. So I learned how to write by force, how to force my ideas, how to edit the ideas, how to put it together, learn some little technical things with Joseph's help and Bio and a few of my friends.
For the friends that I didn't mention, he put you under few of the friends. Note that his birthday gift.
Okay, it's true. I should drop wish list. So this was from the very beginning. I actually had season 1 solo, season 2 co-host. In fact, I wanted it to be a co-host. I know that we spoke about this, but
many
that year
lifetimes ago.
We did not get to meet.
Yes.
We planned once or twice, and I
think what didn't happen then, because what has happened, we've grown so much since then.
Yes, we've grown, and there's so much more
divine timing.
Yes,
divine
timing. Timing is also a very good thing.
For founders and entrepreneurs that want to use this to push their brand, will you be able to because again, system of leverage. So if a fund entrepreneur has money and resources and just wants to share his knowledge with podcast, can you also do that for somebody as well? Can you
on this platform?
No, like help them set up their own podcast and do all those kind of things. Is that something a journey you're also willing to do?
That would be an interesting challenge. I've not thought about that as a service. It would be an interesting challenge. I think if the pay is solid, there may be a very high net worth person that is serious about his personal brand, that is willing to like make the investment. Like you said, I'll just get all the best people and coordinate it. So it doesn't have to be another burden on my neck.
Exactly.
I think I'll be able to do that and do it maybe even more excellently because I've now gotten some experience and
Awesome.
Would you do that?
Would I do that? As the people will say, there is no one road that leads to the market.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a pleasure to have you, and thanks again for responding in such short notice. It's always a delight.
No problem.
And never enough time to talk with you.
You're welcome.
So,
I always turn up for you. You know the vibe.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So I look forward to more collaboration and more interesting things to do together.
Same here.
All right. This is the end of our first episode.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yes.
I like that.
So,
I like that.
Well, please do well to share in comments what stood out to you, what experience you could resonate with, and if there is any guest you'd like us to have on this platform, please feel free to suggest as well. Keep the vision, keep the fire burning, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks for listening.
Subscribe to our podcast.
Yes,
leave reviews, rate, star rating, and everywhere. Thank you very much.
All right.